11.122 IBA 3D scanner setup. The way the actual Phantom itself is oriented should be the gantry in this direction. If the entrance into the vault is on this side of the gantry, where the gantry is that way, you should put the crank here and the reference detector on this side, because when you put in the cones, you can turn the gantry this way, the other way, this way, and still clear this properly while somebody else puts in the cone and the other person is dropping the SSD. For vaults where the entrance is on the other side of the gantry, you should orient this on the other side and also put the crank on the other side. It just makes it easier. When you set it up, line up the crosshairs properly to the box first as much as possible, where the box is as centered on the pedestal as much as possible. Line up the lasers and so forth and level the box. There are levelers here on three points on the base. After you fill up the Phantom, roughly level and align it again when it's partially filled, because when it's filled, it's very hard to move the box on the pedestal. Everything is connected right now. Just basic power. The previous pictures available will show you the minimum equipment required. Between the CCU and the laptop requires a crossover cable. This is too short, obviously, to go into the room, so you will more than likely be using another network cable. Use the coupler. You do need the crossover cable to couple to a regular cable. With everything set up, power on the CCU first. And we need to set central axis and surface of the water with the pedestal before continuing to the laptop software. Otherwise, it will not let you run the queue. Here, we only have the water fountain set up without control for the water filling. If the gantry is in that direction and you point the pendant towards the gantry, using the joystick will move the field detector in the same direction as the joystick. There is a dead man button that you have to press for it to move. And I'm trying to do this one-handed, so. You have to press the dead man button also for the depth control here. That's the fast control, and this is the slow control. If we pretend that this is already the correct depth, we would press, and we want to press the set the water surface. Press here, and then click here, and you will get a check mark. This button up here is the back button. You should put the chamber at depth in water for centering the central axis, for setting the central axis, and you can observe the shadow of the chamber at depth with respect to the crosshair. Ideally, set the central axis first. Let's pretend we did set it up. And then we now hit this guy, and you'll see a check mark. The central axis is set. You back up, and then from here on, you just need to change the depth, pressing the dead man in the back and this button to get the correct depth. And of course, that's with this cap on. And then to set the actual surface, hit this guy. Now it's set. Now, on this laptop, which is the Union Square laptop, which has newer software than the Chelsea one, you log in as physics, and you would need to right-click to run the software. Right-click and select Run as Administrator. We already have the TrueBeam Q in here. So for this little guide, I'm just gonna open an existing Q, photon Q. And what you essentially need to do is click on the controller down here. If this guy is not even available to click on, it's because you did not set central axis and water surface. Click connect. Trying to connect. Actually, it's this guy, the gantry coordinates. If you did not set central axis and water surface, this will not be green. And from here, you can click through the rest of it. But one of the key things is you should set the sensitivity of the detectors using the electrometer panel here. You should set it for both the field and reference to high for the photons. For FFF, it should be in low because the output is too low. I mean, it's too high. So both low for FFF. For electrons, it should be both medium. From here, you can pretty much start scanning. Here's the sample beam Q and so forth. And the way you start scanning is you can select just the PDDs first if you want, right? You select them and then you hit start after the beam goes on. It will go through the sequence. If you want to control the actual depth manually, you can go to positioning panel here. And the weird thing is you can actually type in the depth you want. Let's say I want 5, hit enter, but it won't move until you actually click on go to. That's one of the other little weird things about it.